All right, today is all about deadlifts. We're gonna hit the conventional. So in my previous video on sumos, I showed you that you wanna practice both and see which one feels the best, which one is most comfortable, which one is just kind of your natural position. Because throughout your training experience or history, you wanna make sure that you have some variety. So some days or some months you're gonna be doing sumos, some months you're gonna be doing conventional. So let's go over the conventional. So we'll start it from the bottom. The way you position this is you want to make sure, so wait, before you even go into that, one thing you want to pay attention to is you want to make sure you have some power plates or some Olympic plates. At some gyms, they don't have Olympic plates, and it makes it challenging to do a deadlift with great form because if the plates are too low, you have to go too low, right? And if you're going too low to grab it, it ends up putting you in a compromised position with your back. So make sure you can find some Olympic plates. That way you can have the right starting point. Because what you'll notice is that with all Olympic plates, all of them are the same height. And that's the key. You want to have the right height. So after you got the right height, let's go into it. The first step is your feet. So when it comes to a conventional deadlift, you want to have your feet about shoulder width apart. And that's usually kind of a good spot for most people. You can play around with this and bring it a little closer, bring it a little further out, kind of find what feels comfortable for you. Now remember, all of our bodies are different. We all have different leg lengths, we all have different hip anatomy. So we're all gonna be a little wired differently. So find something that's comfortable for you. Don't get stuck in some dogmatic view where you have to deadlift or you have to squat or you have to do something one exact way. There's always so many different ways you can do the same thing. So let's give it a shot. So you're gonna be about shoulder width apart. This is what feels pretty good for me. Now when we look at the knees, you want the knees to be in line with the toes. I would even let them slightly come out a little bit, but they're still in line. Because what your feet should do, they either can be straight or they can be flared just a little bit. Flared a little bit is usually kind of the best spot. So flare a little bit, knees out a little bit. Now we look at the hips. You want to make sure that your hips are not, they're above your knees, but they're below your shoulders. So when you come down, they should be here. So you don't want to see this. This is when you know you're in the wrong spot. You don't want your shoulders to be in line with your knees. Now it looks like that. You want your hips to be below your shoulders. So we got the feet, we got the knees, the hips are in the right spot. This lets you know you're in a good spot to start your deadlift. Now, with the shoulders, you want to make sure that your shoulders are away from your ears. And what's going to happen is when you put those shoulders away from your ears, you're going to find yourself shifting back into your heels. So you want to feel your weight in your heels when it comes to kind of where your body is in space. So shoulders away, your weight is in your heels. And what we're going to do here is we're going to pull the slack out of the bar. So you want to hear that cling just like that. Focus on that pull. Because if you don't get this cling, you're going to do this. And you're going to lose all of that great stiffness in that position that you created at the bottom. So make sure when you're down here, hit the cling, turn on the core, make sure that you're ready to go. Now, the next step here is you want to make sure that your head position is right. So when you're down here, you'll see sometimes some people deadlift and they're looking all the way up here. So come up. Some people coach it like that, but when we think about long-term health, you want to keep all joints in great position. So if your head is here, it's just a lot of strain on your neck, especially when you start adding weight. So keep your head in a great position. Keep it in line with your body. You wouldn't stand up and do this. So you shouldn't do it down here. So we'll look at our setup. We're coming down, feet, knees, hips in a good spot. Pull the slack out, heads in a good position. Now here, think about pushing through the ground. Push. Stand up tall. RDL, go down. Pass your knees. Drop. So let's look at it from the side. We'll take it step by step. I like to look at the knees first. The feet, the knees, the hips, shoulders, the neck, and then we put everything together. Okay? So we look at the feet. We're about shoulder width apart. Okay? We look at the knees. They're pointing in line with the toes. So we're good. We stick our butt back like we're going to do a little squat. You want to make sure that that hip is in the middle of the knees and the shoulder. And you see it really well when you look at this position. You want to get down, Pull up on the bar, shoulders away. Head in a good position, push through the ground, stand up tall. Make sure you're not here, but you're here. You're tall, your butt squeezed. And as you descend, we RDL, keeping the bar close. Once you get past your knees, you drop it. So if you want to build your deadlift, you want to focus on slow and controlled movements first before you start adding a lot of weight. So you want to make sure your technique is A1. So that'll be things like focusing on your eccentric, where you go slow. That'll be things focusing on isometric, where you hold it at the middle and come up. And all different variations. So give that a try. Remember, number one priority when it comes to deadlifts is you got to make sure your form is perfect. So I hope that helps. If it doesn't, leave a comment and let's figure it out.